We'd like to welcome y'all here on Zachary's Journey. It is always an honor and a privilege to be here alongside my fellow um,
Mm.
author here, new author. I'd like to add. Um, uh, I'm excited about today's episode. I think today's episode is going to be impactful, insightful, and I'm just gonna get right into it. Zachary, first, let's tell the people how you're doing. Let's start there.
Well, Anthony, you already told the people I officially can say that my book exactly enclosed is officially out there.
Man, I am so proud of you, man. You have no idea. I get like early like insight when these things happen. So he texts me, and I'm like, oh, dude, I felt like running around my house a few times, and it was awesome, man. I know the all the hard work that went into this.
Mhm.
So I'm proud of you, Zachary. Congratulations again. Um, but with that said, we also have a very special guest with us, Katrina, which I'm excited to get into a real cool conversation we have planned for you guys. So, Katrina, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to those who may not know who you are?
Sure. Yeah. So, hi, everybody. First of all, congratulations to Zachary on his book coming out. It's wonderful. Make sure you look into that. I am Katrina McGraw. I see. How do I describe myself? I'm a registered nurse, but I haven't practiced patient care for many years. So, I've been working in health insurance for about 34 years, and I'm going to be retiring at the end of this month. So, looking forward to that. And about a year ago, I started on TikTok. I'd never been on TikTok before. And I found a friend who was conducting a daily political live. A live is a live video feed where you stream your thoughts and have conversations with people. And along the way, it became very, very apparent to us women in the group that we needed a space of our own because there's a lot of misogyny in the United States right now. In fact, in the dark corners of the internet, there are people being indoctrinated into hating women. So we have to fight back, and we needed a safe space where women could come and talk. So Zachary talked about some of the things that we would discuss on that panel. Sometimes it was personal issues, sometimes political concerns about what's going on in our country. So it was a mixed bag of political, current events, personal issues going on in their lives. And we did this daily until I think it was November. I had my first surgery. I had to just take off from that. After that, I really just had to focus on me and recovery. And then I had another surgery in January. So that delayed me getting back on. So as of today, I've only been back doing lives a couple of times, but I will be going back as soon as I retire and have more opportunity to pick the right time of day. Right now, there are a lot of creators that are competing for time, and I don't want to interfere with anybody else's time. So I'll figure it out, but we'll get it going again. And I've had a lot of friends who were on that live before who've been asking me to get it going again. And I will. I definitely will. But it'll probably be a little bit of a different slant this time. I want it to be more of a fun place for women. And I won't be allowing men who oppose women to actually speak on the panel at all this time. Last time I allowed them to, which has its pros and cons. We were able to call out people for their bad behavior and try to teach them, but we learned very few of them that came on those lives really have any intent learning anything from the woman's perspective. We found that they just really wanted to troll. So I decided when I resume, I will not be allowing men to participate in the panel. They can come into the chat, but it's going to be heavily monitored. And if they offend women, they're gone, period. I'm not going to put up with that nonsense. That's what
Yeah.
it's all about. And I met Zachary through another friend's live. I think that's how we met. Was he was on her live and she invited me over and I started listening to him and we started talking and we became friends. So
Yeah.
pretty blessed.
Mm.
All right. You mentioned misogyny and everything like that. Could you unpack that a bit for those who may not even be aware of what is going on in our country today?
Yeah, misogyny, if you aren't aware, it's really where there are men who put down women, they criticize women, and we believe it's because they feel like something has been taken from them as women gain more independence for whatever reason, and they become resentful. And frankly, it's with the white population. A lot of these males are being trained that something's been taken from them, whether, it's another race, whether it's females, whether it's an immigrant, whatever it is, they feel resentful and they're on a mission to go out and strike out against those of us in these different groups. So there literally are pages on the internet where they're recruiting men to hate women and they're teaching them to hate women. So we have to be careful because it's like a cancer that's going to spread and women are going to be taken backwards in this country. And one example of that is the SAVE Act that they're trying to get through Congress right now. That Trump, he's making this now his mission because he wants to, supposedly prevent election fraud, even though there's no evidence of any except the year that he tried to steal the election. And
That's true.
and but the SAVE Act, what's going to happen is that if your name at the time you register to vote does not match the name on your birth certificate, which you're going to be required to have, you're going to have all your documents to prove all your different name changes. Like if you married, what did it change to? If you divorced that person, what did it change to, if it at all? And then the next time you're married. So, you know, if you've been married a couple of times, that's like 4 or 5 certified documents you have to go gather. People don't know where to get those. And for people who are lower income, that's a cost they may not be able to bear. So the whole goal is to reduce the number of women voting. And we have to watch them carefully that they don't even take away all our rights to vote. We're very worried about it. So hopefully that helps clarify.
Where do you think all of this stems from? Like it just seems like there's so much hatred for women, minorities, all of that in
Mm-hmm.
the world, and I'm just curious as to what it is or where it is that you feel like this all stems from.
It's indoctrination from the right wing of the political parties. It's indoctrination to try to control the voting. They're trying to control it to eliminate people that they think are more apt to vote Democratic than Republican. I was a lifelong Republican, by the way, 40-year Republican until Donald Trump ruined the party.
Mm,
And now I won't go back. I consider myself independent now, but I think it stems from that. It's indoctrination to try to control the voting.
right,
Now,
right.
now for people who are Republican and have that want to continue to support Trump and want to keep keep their views on politics. What would you say to somebody that made you want to stop to be a Republican? What what was the
I would
breaking
say that
point?
the party has lost its way. It was a good party. It had really good values and principles. And, it lost its way. It sold its soul to the devil, frankly, in my opinion.
Mm,
And that devil is Donald Trump. He has controlled everything that's happened in that party for 10 years. People who would have, kept their oath to the Constitution, now it doesn't matter. They keep their oath to Donald Trump. They're totally devoted to him. And psychologists say it's become a cult of personality, and I don't doubt that at all. And even our Congress people who support him, they'll do whatever he says. My governor here in Indiana, he's somebody called him a Trump puppet today. That's exactly what he is. Whatever Trump wants, he gets. And
mm.
yeah, yeah. So
It's
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 it's really like a poison that's spreading.
it's
Mhm.
interesting because sometimes I watch and I'm like, it seems like there are some within his own party that can't even stand him, but just choose to tolerate him.
Mhm.
Either tolerate him or just moving in fear. One of the two.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
because I look and I'm like, man, there's just like it's just wild how because I used to I never considered myself Republican. I also never considered myself Democratic. I always kind of like stood in the middle and just rode the wave type of deal. Um, but I would see viewpoints on both sides, and I'm just weighed out and everything, and I look on the right, especially now, and I'm like, man, like none of the values that we once or that the United States once stood on are being upheld by that side at all at this point.
Exactly, exactly. Who would have ever dreamed that a convict, a convicted felon, would be elected president? A person who's been proven in court to be liable civilly for sexually assaulting a woman, a
Mhm.
man who has had, 3 marriages, he's cheated on every single one. I mean, it's just hard to understand. It's hard to understand. I know, I get that they were looking for something different when he came along. The problem is they allowed themselves to be bamboozled by him, thinking he was this wonderful businessman. Oh, he's a rich man. He's had all these businesses. The man has failed in business most of his life.
Mhm.
He's had, I think, 6 bankruptcies. That's not a
Mhm.
successful businessman. So
Mhm.
he has bamboozled a lot of people, and to this day, many of those people who voted for him in 2016 still don't accept that. They think he was chosen by God. And I have often said, well, if that's true, God sent him to teach these people a lesson that they need to wake up and listen to,
All
because
right.
he didn't send him to save us. No, he sent him to teach those people a lesson, and they're
Right.
not learning it. So it's kind of sad.
Right.
Yeah. And I will
Right.
say, I think there's some good people on the right hand side. I think there are people who were misled
Yes. Yes.
by tuning into Fox News, who had to pay what, 787, was it billion or million? I forget which, is a lot of money for admittingly lying to the public. They've been indoctrinated by TV, and my mother was one of those. She used to watch Fox News like every minute of the day.
Right.
And actually, I used to too until the 2016 campaign, and I turned it off when it became really clear to me they were giving him all this time, and the other Republican candidates weren't getting any time on their network. So it
Right.
became it became obvious to me that something crazy was happening. I'm
Right.
like, I
Right.
want
Right.
no part of it. I will not have any part of it. I had friends I had known for decades that revealed their racism in the course of that campaign, and I was like, oh, I had no idea, no idea. And I unfriended them and never looked back. I won't be friends with people who are racists.
Right. Right.
And
Like, I don't think that all are racist, is what I guess I'm trying to say, but there's quite a few that I have encountered, especially on social media, who are.
There definitely is. And what's crazy to me is, for me, like I'm, I'm deep rooted in faith. I'm that's my background. But sometimes I'm troubled by my peers, who share same beliefs, but
Mhm,
find excuse after excuse for this man.
mhm,
And this guy
mhm,
can literally, just flat out punch someone in the face for no reason.
mhm,
And
mhm.
for whatever reason, they'll come up with an excuse. Well, you know, he didn't
Oh
mean
yeah.
that.
Oh
He
yeah.
what he really meant was,
Yeah.
and
I've heard it
it's
all for 10 years. Every
right,
excuse possible. It's crazy. And and they don't see that they're doing this.
right,
They just don't see it. They don't see it. They defend him to the bitter end. He told everybody 10 years ago that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. And he was exactly right.
do you
He's a
think
dangerous human being. Psychologists all said so, but they chose not to listen to that. They made excuses then. They made fun of a disabled reporter. I mean, that was it for me.
I
I
remember
was like,
that.
no, yeah.
I
And how you
remember
could
that.
defend somebody who could do that is beyond me, and I don't want to associate with people who do.
Right. I remember that. What were you gonna
Yeah.
say, Zachary?
do you think do you both think that well, these people that supporting the MAGA supporters, do you think that they're being brainwashed in
Yes.
anything that he says? And if he says it, it's automatically true. When
Yes.
the first time he was ever elected, they caught him like 36,000 times, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was tracking all his lies.
Right.
36,000 documented lies. It
Right.
was more than that, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And I,
They
I
didn't
don't I
care.
don't I don't just believe, because I think there's two different types of people there. I think there are the brainwashed, But the scarier part to that is I think there are also people who actually think like him.
Mhm.
And that's what
Mhm.
scares me. Because I'm like,
Yes.
there are more of you, and
Yes.
one is enough. But to have a slew of you who think the same,
Yes.
who
It's
spew hatred,
concerning.
it is concerning. It
Yes.
is
I grew
concerning.
up in the 60s when there was a lot of, racial divide, and, you know, it was finally getting to a point where people could just be open about loving other people from other races. And now we've backslid so bad because of this. He all he's done is embolden what they already felt inside. So it made it okay to feel the way that they did. I remember the day that he was on TV during a live interview, and they asked him about David Duke, who was like over, I think, the KKK or something. And oh, he praised him, said he was a good man, and he had opportunity right there to nip that in the bud and say something negative about the KKK. He didn't. He didn't.
Right.
I was
Right.
like, why don't y'all see this? And the people just made excuses for him all the time. That's what they've done for 10 years. I don't know how. And now this whole business with the Epstein files, I'm of the opinion that I don't need to see what's in those files, because there are survivors who have come forward to tell everybody he did this to me as a
Right.
child.
Right.
I believe the victims. And they need justice. And I
Right.
hope that they get justice before I die. I'm an old woman. I'd like to see all of them get the justice that they deserve to get.
Right.
It's horrible. And I never have heard a single Trump supporter ever say anything negative about that. Not one.
Right. Right.
It's just unbelievable.
It's even wild how far he goes with even Obama. Um, Obama tends to live rent free in his mind for whatever reason. I'm not sure if there's like an
He's
insecurity
jealous of
there,
him. Yeah,
but
he's jealous.
any opportunity he gets, he has to throw a jab. And then you
Yeah,
had, what
Yeah.
was it, a few months ago, he put up that post. He claims that his intern did it, and they put up a
Mhm.
post of portraying the Obamas as monkeys. And
Mhm.
he was like,
Yeah.
I just don't
Deny,
understand
deny.
how. Yeah, and then
any,
he'll use every excuse in the book, and people eat it up.
Yeah. Oh,
anybody who
yeah.
anybody who doesn't agree with this man, he hates them
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
based on if you don't agree with him.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. Look at him going after his political enemies or perceived political enemies, people who are just doing their jobs. He goes after them. This is a sign of a fascist dictator.
But
Right.
I don't want
but
to live in this kind of country,
it's
you know?
okay.
Right.
It's okay to spend money on ballrooms and stuff like that when people go hungry. Where the fuck
Oh,
do
yeah.
you have that in your mind? You want to
Yeah,
spend
that
money
ballroom
on a
that he said
ballroom?
he would pay for, that now we, the people, have to pay for, like $500 million
Yeah.
ballroom that we don't even need. It's
Right.
And,
ridiculous.
Yeah,
and how
then a
many
few weeks ago we had a whole UFC event at the White House, and I wonder who paid for the security to be there, and
I'm
all
sure
the
we
extra.
did.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm sure we did.
and people are dying on the streets going hungry and stuff like that. People
Yes.
who need their disability benefit, people who need food stamps. There's a
Yes.
lot of people going hungry because of this bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's
Mm-hmm. And the
there
GOP
has
Congress too. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
there
Yeah,
also
he's not
has
in this alone. He's got his minions that are doing his bidding, and I mean, and then there's the whole situation of Doge. Sorry, my cat's sneezing. There's a whole situation of Doge and all the millions of aid that they cut out. I read yesterday an article that there were millions of children deceased around the world because of cutting USAID. That's Musk and his
there
doings. And then
also
hospitals are closing.
Yeah, and then Elon just goes away, and he's involved in everything for a short stint, and then goes away like nothing, and then becomes a trillionaire while the rest of the world is suffering. It's just
Mhm.
wild to me.
I think during Doge he was earning something. Was it 8 million or 8 billion or 18 billion a day? It was so billions of dollars a day. I think he really cleaned up you know off of our tax dollars, and didn't accomplish anything really except loss of jobs and loss of you know aid to assistance to people who really needed it. But the GOP Congress, they're the what's the term when you're complicit in a crime? I mean, they're the people who have perpetuated the problems. I mean, rural hospitals are closing. People aren't going to have any place to go to the hospital. They're not going to have the money to go to the
Right.
hospital because their
Right.
Medicaid was cut or
Right.
slashed or eliminated, or the ACA subsidies were not extended and they can't afford to pay for it. Like
Right.
premiums doubled. I was reading an article today about Ohioans who, probably voted for Trump. There's like 50,000 jobs lost, and I forget how many were knocked off of insurance, 20% off of insurance because their premiums were doubling. This is all because of Republicans. So people need to be smart when they vote this fall and think
Right.
about, are they going to vote for themselves or are they going to think about the country as a whole? It should always be the country over your party. And when there's a political party that's tearing apart American citizens, they're not America first at all. And, need to wake up. Need to wake up, vote wisely.
Right.
Make America great again is, I think, make Argentina great again.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably true. Yeah, didn't they get 40 billion or something like that from us?
Yeah, I
Hard
just
to
don't understand.
understand.
Yeah, I don't
Hard to
understand half the
understand.
decisions. I'd ask you this. I mean, aside from us needing a new president desperately in office, um, what changes you think could be made or should be made rather, to in the world that would make America great again?
Well, then you have to ask the question, were we ever really great to begin with? Times were greater here when I was young than they are now. I was much
Right.
happier as a young person than I am
Right.
at this point in my life. But I mean, the most important thing really for us is the midterm elections this year. Is extremely critical that we enable the Democratic Party to gain control and fix what the Republicans have broken, number one. But number
No,
two, that they investigate this president and his administration and hold them accountable for crimes. It's not okay to be criminals, in our government. And we need to get back to where integrity matters again. Make integrity matter again. Mima.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
my thought. And then you know what? At some point in time, he's either gonna go to wherever his next life is and be gone from this earth, or we'll get to the point when the Democrats are in power in the Congress that he'll be impeached this time, and third time's gonna be charm, and he'll be gone this time for sure. So it's
Right.
really important that everybody vote wisely, put the country over our party. Don't vote based upon your party line. If that's what you've been doing all your life, it's ridiculous. You need to make
Right.
wise choices.
Right.
And make sure you're even registered to vote because they've been knocking people off the rolls, in all these states. They're trying to clean up their voter rolls, and you might get yourself taken off and not even know it. You're not
Right.
notified if they take you off.
Yeah, and then you also have the talk of him possibly being able to run a third time, which would
Yeah.
be
if
ridiculous.
if that ever was the case, I want Obama to run again.
That's what I was going to say, Zachary. Hell, let's get Obama to run again. If he
Yeah.
thinks he can run, put Obama up there. Hell yeah,
Yeah,
he'd
I
beat
think.
him in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I think Obama wins by a landslide.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like Obama, was he perfect? No. Who is? Tell me one person. Not a single person. But there was something about him that made him a lovable person, and you could tell he was a people person. Like anytime he gave a
Yes.
speech, I felt like I wanted, me personally, just watching TV, I was like, man, I want to run through a wall for this guy, just because he was just so inspiring, and he pulled you into his speeches and everything like that. But then just him, just you just see how he handles things, like even the stuff that Trump says and everything like that. He just lets it roll off his shoulders, doesn't really say much. He'll say a thing here or two, and just kind of like let the children talk type deal. So I would love Obama to be
Yeah,
back in,
I
in
was an
office.
Obama fan back in the day, but I am now because I've had to deal with this other monster for 10 years. I
Right,
can really appreciate him much more.
right.
In
I
fact,
was
I want to go to the Obama library one day. I
right.
don't live but about 2 or 3 hours from there, so I'm
Oh
hoping
wow.
to go visit it. Yeah.
I was telling someone recently. I was like, man, I remember. I remember when Bush was in presidency, and I was like, man, it can't get any worse than this back then. And I was like, man, this is horrible. And I'm
I
thinking
like
now, I'm
W.
like, man, I take the Bush days any day over
You know,
what we
say
have
what you
now.
will about W. He was a man of or is a man of integrity, and so
Right,
was Obama. I mean, I can't think of any president more vile than Trump. Honestly, he's
right,
a horrible human being. He's literally a sociopath.
right,
And I prefer presidents that have integrity and care about all the people and don't just make everything about one side of the political spectrum all
right,
the time. I mean, it gets so old and it's only for his benefit. There's nothing he does that is for the American people. It's all about how he can profit. I mean, the fact that he's made billions of dollars in this term is illegal. Nobody's
right,
doing anything about it. Nothing.
right, right.
It's
No one.
ridiculous.
It almost seems like no one even
Uh,
cares to look into it either. Was that
Yeah,
Zachary?
that's why we need a Democratic control in Congress.
I have
Yeah.
a
Right.
question for you. Do you feel like people are scared to face Donald Trump because he's the leader of the country?
I think some
I
are in
think,
Congress because they're up for reelection, and he'll have them if the primaries are still going on. He'll have them primaried out.
Hmm?
So like his pick will get elected in the primary. So yeah, I think there are some in
yeah,
Congress that are very
yeah,
fearful of him.
yeah, but I get that. But you are supposed to be fighting for the people. So if we elect you in a certain office and you're not fighting for the people, why the fuck did we put you in the office?
Exactly, exactly. They're supposed to represent us, not him.
Right.
But that's the problem with that party
But
is they
so
they
like,
formed a cult. They formed a cult where their cult leader can do no wrong, and their mission is to make sure he's happy at all times. I mean, it's sick.
Right.
It's really sick.
I
And
th-
that they don't even see it after 10 years. I mean, you could forgive them the first time they voted for him, but some of these people voted for him for three times and are rooting for him to run illegally a fourth time. I mean, it's insanity. I can't, I just want them all to wake up and really I don't care, how much it hurts them when they do finally wake up. I want them to feel the pain we've all been feeling for 10 years.
Right.
I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but at least Marjorie has the balls to stand up for Donald Trump and to fight for what she knows is right either way.
I never thought I would ever agree with anything that woman ever said, but she's been spot on lately and telling it like it is. So I give her kudos for that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I still
But
would
she
never.
was threatened by him. I mean, she's endured his wrath and she probably realized she wouldn't get to win again because of what she said about him. I'm
But
grateful that she's standing up for the victims of Epstein and him.
Right.
I
Right.
will still never vote for it.
Right. I
And
wonder.
neither would I.
I wonder what the candidates look like. I mean, it's probably way too early to tell who would be running as far as the Democrat Party is concerned. But I wonder who that would be. To me, it looks like the guy from California. I forget his name.
Newsom, Gavin
Newsom.
I
Newsom.
hate that
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah. What was that? What was that?
I hate that guy.
You hate that guy?
You do? I think he's great. I
I
like how
I
he's been playing Trump's game the last several months and mocking Trump. It's good.
Yeah.
Somebody has to.
I would I would like AOC to run on somebody else. I think
Yeah, I don't
AOC
think she
has,
could win though.
Yeah, I think the same for like I'm hearing or I'm reading that Kamala is thinking about running, and I don't think she'd win either.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I would like for her to run again.
but
Yeah,
But
the,
she'll have a longer period of time where she can maybe build up more
here's the,
momentum.
here's the thing
right,
for the first term. She only had 107 days because of Joe Biden. Joe
Exactly.
Biden decided get out of the race in July, and that
Right.
didn't give her enough time to campaign. So I
Mhm.
feel like now she has enough time to campaign herself, and she was also VP, so she couldn't
Mhm.
talk about Joe Biden much because she was still VP of the United States of America.
Well,
Yeah.
So
something's up with her because I got
now
a text message today asking for a campaign donation. So she's doing something.
Wow. I mean, I think you're right there, Zachary. I agree with that. I can't imagine that the position she was in, being asked specific questions as someone who's running for presidency, and then a lot of questions in which she was asked about Biden and being his VP, not being able to really shed too much light just because, hey, I'm still under him, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I can't imagine, and then on top of the fact that she didn't have much time at all. So
because
Right.
how would you feel if you're VP of the United States of America and you guys talk about a guy who's currently your president?
yeah,
That would make it a hard decision.
That would be awkward.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a pretty rough. I can imagine that it was rough for her. I would
But
love for her
she's
to run
so
again.
inspiring. She was like such a breath of fresh air, and she drew the crowds. And y'all
And
know, have you heard about the Election Truth Alliance's findings and what they're suspecting's happened? I hate to bring that up if we're not supposed to talk about it here,
No,
but
let's go
oh,
for it.
so the
no one
Election
can
Truth
talk about
Alliance.
anything here.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
I allow people to talk about what they want to talk about, whatever.
Okay,
Um,
well, you can't talk about it on TikTok because they'll shut you down. But the Election Truth Alliance, which is like an election integrity organization, I guess is the only way I can explain it. They've been studying the 2024 election, and they have found extremely suspicious findings of possible vote manipulation where votes were moved from Harris to Trump. But it's
so
not proven yet. They need the states to do ballot audits, and they couldn't get it. So far, the states they've reached out to have not responded or wouldn't agree. And
so
then
I
they
have
have
a
a lawsuit.
question.
They have a
Let's
lawsuit
say
ongoing in Pennsylvania right now to try to get them forced to take action. And I don't know the status of that recently, but I mean, there's a possibility that Musk was involved in this,
Oh,
and it has symptoms, the signs and symptoms of exactly how the Russians have manipulated voting in their country too. So it's possible they, collaborated with Putin and found
I
out there's how they did it.
I could see the states giving pushback just because the states would look very fraudulent as well. So it'll
Yeah,
be
because they
it'll put
certified.
everybody right,
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Mm-hmm.
right.
question for you both, because
What's
I'm
that?
not very educated in this stuff. Um, if they do find fraud, would they allow to brand new candidates and do emergency election
I'm
right
not
now?
sure how they handle this situation if they ever get it proven and Trump's still in office. I mean, he needs to be kicked out immediately if they can prove it. But
Right.
I don't know. There's
Because
a lot. It
cause,
has to be proven.
Yeah, I don't
Because
know
the
how
20
how
the 2020 election, Trump screamed for months and still does to this day that it was stolen from him without a shred of evidence, and they don't want to be the same way. They want the proof. They've always said, hey, we think something bad has happened, but we need it
right,
proven and we need your support. Contact your board of elections, contact your governor, whoever you can to get them on board with doing something to verify the vote.
right.
But
cause
it's
Kamala
alarming.
Harris, Kamala Harris and Mickey were my first two votes. So I'm proud to say I only voted for women to vote.
Right.
Well, she didn't lose by much. I think it was 1%. Not by much, but it's certainly the evidence they have on their YouTube channel, the videos of the data analysis. It's extremely concerning to me. I don't want anybody playing around with my vote. My vote is my vote, not somebody else's to play with. So
Yeah.
I hope again I live long enough to see this be proven and them all shipped off and held for treason. you know?
Right.
Because people don't know, but I'm currently having issues obtaining a new wheelchair, and my insurance won't even cover for the whole wheelchair.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Zachary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
terrible. Yeah, I mean, the times we're living in is ridiculous. I mean, people,
Yeah,
people, literally striving or barely making ends meet. Everything's inflated. Gas is ridiculous.
yeah,
You can't buy a full set of groceries with anything close to what you were making before or what you were spending
yeah.
before. Yeah,
and
we're just living in horrible times. And then that's also not to mention all the ice bull that has been going
Oh,
on.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's horrible. It's horrible. And the
and
same people who are very much in favor of rounding up the immigrants and putting them in detention centers, which are basically concentration camps, are claiming to be Christians. And that goes against everything that we were taught as Christians to believe about our fellow, human beings. We need to love everybody and look at it from their perspective. And these were people who, for the most part, were coming here just to make a better life for themselves. I mean,
Hmm?
it's just, to me, it's horrific. It's horrific. I'm
It
just
is.
so embarrassed. So
now,
embarrassed.
It is.
if you're black, disabled, LGBTQ, or whatever, you guys are the target. I feel like,
Mhm.
even myself, I feel like I'm a target right now.
Yes, Zachary, they're talking about rounding people up with disabilities and putting them in an institution. People who are living independently today would be forced to live in an institution against their will. I
I'm
mean, it's
proud.
crazy.
I'm proud to say that I'm an author, but in the back of my mind, knowing that my name is out there now, some of it makes me a bit scared too.
Mm,
Understandable. This is 1930s Germany all over again. That's what they did to people.
mm.
Well,
And
I
yet,
admire you, Zachary. I think you're a wonderful man. I'm proud of
Zachary's
you.
amazing. Zachary is amazing. Yeah, that whole ice situation as well. Just it irritates me because it's one thing I can kind of understand if you are arresting criminals. Fine, cool, great. But it's been proven that a lot, if not most, of the people that they're arresting aren't criminals. These are
Exactly,
just people moving
exactly.
here to try to make ends meet. And let's be honest, the work that they're doing is
Mhm.
work that most people don't want to do. Most
Exactly.
people
And
don't want
and
to do
that's why our
construction.
produce prices are so high,
Right.
because there's nobody to go pick the fruit. It's rotting in the field.
Right.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah. They
So
and
that
they are mistakenly believing that they're using federal benefits. They're not using federal
they're not.
benefits. They might use some benefits various states offer, but that's even as rare. And that's
Right.
at a state level. Deal with it on your state level. But people deserve dignity, and I'm just not in favor of what they've been doing. And then we have two American citizens now who are deceased by ICE, and nothing is being done to hold those people accountable. Nothing.
Yeah. Well,
It's just
we have a president who
we have
champions
three. There
them.
were three. Sorry, there were three.
Look at that. And yeah, the president, anytime he's asked about it, he champions ICE and yeah,
Oh
they're
yeah,
doing
he
an
calls them
amazing job.
patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like the J6ers were doing an amazing job too. Yeah, sure.
Right. It's just
I
it's
like to see
sad to
them all
see.
rounded up.
Right.
Yeah.
It is
It's
it's
just
sad.
it's just horrible to know that our country can do so much better. And we're stuck in this awful cycle of hatred and animosity, and it's pulling us down in the world. And
In,
I'm just
in,
shocked.
in my 24 years of living, I never thought I would be experiencing something like this. Ever.
Right.
I know. I never did either. I'm 68, and I'm like, what? I heard a guy on a TikTok live last night talk about. Um, he goes, most of us here weren't around during segregation. I'm like, I was. I remember that when I was a little girl. Obviously, I wasn't directly impacted, but I remember when people had to use a different bathroom or a different water fountain, or they had to sit in the kitchen, you know, when they came to help my great aunt cook a meal, and they weren't allowed to join the rest of the family for whatever
Right.
reason. And I mean, I remember those times, and it just makes me sick to think about people who want that back again. I don't.
Right.
I want everybody to be free. I want everybody to be respected and have dignity and
Right.
loved.
That's what
Right.
our leaders fought for.
Yes,
That's
Right.
why we study history so we don't repeat the same mistakes that other people made. But we have
exactly.
people like this guy repeating the same mistake like it was made.
Exactly,
Right.
And
Zachary.
how is that acceptable?
It's mind-boggling.
Right.
And we're not going to change their mind. They have to learn on their own somehow. These people who have become so engrossed in Trump, because I think the more that we say about them, the more they're dig their heels in deeper to support him. I think all our years of
Dude, a
criticizing them
part of
has
me,
just dug them in deeper.
a part of me wants to have a deep conversation and find out why, but I don't think I'll ever come to that ground where we can come together and have a civil conversation.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are a few. The guy whose TikTok live I participate on every night, he has had people change their mind because he's given them facts. These are people who didn't take the time to do any research. They just voted with, their gut, or their parents told them they should vote this way, and they
Right.
listened to their parents. And there are a few who have changed minds. And there's a group on TikTok called Leaving MAGA, people who have left MAGA, and they apologize for their mistake because their eyes are open. It's just not enough of them. It needs to be way more.
Right.
But
I don't want to
all I can
sound,
do.
Right.
I don't want to sound this way, but you think that they will ever change? I feel like the only reason why they're changing is because it affects them, and they're not concerned about other people. In this country, it's always been me, myself, and I. That's
You're
what I
right.
strongly
Right.
feel.
Yeah, I think you're right, Zachary. And I said that for years, that they'll wake up when, like, Medicare and Social Security are affected. Well, Republicans announced recently that's what they plan to go after next, is cutting Medicare and Social Security.
Right.
I'm of the baby boomer generation. There are millions of us out there who need those two programs that we paid into our whole lives.
I'm
And now
sorry,
to think that they might cut my
I'm
benefit?
sorry,
No.
I'm sorry, but I will believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of the change takes place at the voting, well, in voting and everything like that. But can you give us like maybe some key, I guess, practical things that we can do within our own communities, that would, one, influence change, and help, support women's rights, all of that.
I don't have the answers, but I guess the best advice is keep talking to people, keep expressing our opinions about what needs to be done, be vocal, especially with our representatives, our elected officials. We need to be vocal, make sure that they know our thoughts, and then vote wisely. It's just that's the only thing I know to do. I mean, it's
And
exhausting. It's exhausting thinking, well, how do we get out of this?
and
When,
I have a question for Katrina. You say you allow women to come up. Just out of curiosity, do you also let trans women come up?
absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
Mhm. And
Right.
how did that become such a big topic when it affects like 1% of the population? I'm like,
It's
what?
exhausting between that,
Yes.
that and the, you know, I understand the abortion thing, and I understand like people are against it, and if you're against it, cool, great. I completely understand. But the fact that we've pushed that far, like so much in the far front, in the forefront of all the other issues that we have going on in the world, that's become the driving force. That even like you have uh Christians all over the world that's their only one and only point to back Trump. Oh well, he's against abortion. Well, yeah, but he's damaging the world with everything else he's doing. You know?
But is he really against abortion? I'm not sure he is. Yeah, and
Right.
I'll tell you my personal opinion on that topic is I'm an OBGYN registered nurse. That's what I worked in most of my career. And I was always pro-life. And I am pro-life, but I also have come to realize that I'm also pro-choice too. I mean,
Right.
because what I've seen happen is that women who now can't go out and get the elective AB that they need. Now they're those that are miscarrying, they can't get normal medical care. I said when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I agreed with the choice because it really should have been a state's issue from the beginning. That the Supreme Court messed this up in 1973 and it needed to be fixed, but it should have been fixed a long time ago. That the states should own it for their own respective state population. But what happened that I didn't expect is that people who were miscarrying couldn't get the care that they needed. I was like, I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
believe it was going to happen. I told a friend, I'm like, oh no, they'll be fine. And then I hear horror stories of women dying. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous that any one woman can't get the care that they need after a miscarriage. It's just ridiculous. And
Yeah,
it's all
that's
because of overturning Roe v. Wade and how the states have taken it to the nth degree because, the term abortion is used in various situations. It means evacuating the contents of the uterus.
right.
So it all gets too intertwined and by people who don't know anything about it.
Right,
These
right,
are not
right,
medical professionals that are writing these laws.
right. And then I
You
think
know.
too, like I think further, like, all right, fine, we force these women to not abort, right? And we force these women to give birth. Now what happens to their child, knowing that the woman that didn't really want the child, right? So now what happens to the care of the child, right?
Mhm.
And yes, there's options, you can put them up for adoption and all that. But then you have
Mhm.
others who will choose to continue to, you know, mother the child, and some of these kids end up being mistreated just because it's
Mhm.
just neglect. Because at this point, you took away someone's choice, you forced them to do something they didn't want to do, and now the child suffers,
That's exactly
right?
right. Exactly.
So I,
Yeah.
I
And
just
where are all those pro-lifers then? They don't
right,
care. They
right,
take away their food assistance.
right,
you know, they don't
so
think that they deserve any kind of daycare help. They
right,
think that everybody should pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
right.
It's not easy being a single mother.
Right. And
Yeah.
then even that, like, to say you're pro-choice, you're pro-life, or are you? Because that life is not even really worth living at that point, because that that the child is just being neglected, not nurtured for nothing. So it's
Yeah,
I don't know, man. This thing is like so convoluted.
it is.
Um and there's so many
Yeah.
like different facets to it. It's ridiculous, man. Half of the things that go on in this country.
Yeah. And most of the people who go on our TikTok lives that want to talk about it are men. And they're not personally affected by it. They're just
Yes.
not. And,
Yes.
and I'm like, and why are we leaving this up to men to make these decisions for women?
Right.
I mean, it's just
Right.
ridiculous.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, I strongly, my opinion on it is, yes, I don't believe you should have an abortion. I don't. But I also believe that you should be able to choose whether or not you want to. So I would advise, but I also say, hey, it's your choice. You know?
Exactly. I don't judge anybody. That's not my place to judge anybody.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
In fact, we'd all get along a lot better in this country if everybody would just mind their own damn business.
Exactly. Exactly. Everyone's so worried about what everyone else is doing. Like, man, why don't you pay attention to your backyard? You have a few weeds growing back there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, even with our leadership, our leadership has programmed people to do that. Everything's everyone else's fault. It's always looking at someone else's garden, and always looking at someone else's doings and everything, and never taking accountability for our own things, our own world and everything. And that's
Hmm.
just a culture that's being spread, unfortunately.
I
So,
agree. Yeah.
but with that said, I mean, um what is something that, I mean, I guess that you would like to tell, people, that maybe someone watching this, that's even possibly living in fear, living like with, I guess, insecurity, not knowing what's going to happen. Um, what would you say to that person?
I would say this, that our country was developed and founded by some pretty ingenious people. We have a wonderful constitution. We need to make sure we're electing people who are going to uphold the constitution and not just twist it the way that they want. And to have hope, because we have a history in this country of rebalancing. So when one person gets in power, that people, it's unpopular like we have now, where he has like a 30-something% approval rating.
Hmm.
Typically, it swings the other way, and I think there's a really good chance the Democrats will be elected to Congress, and it's going to be important because it's going to rebalance our country. So I
Right.
say hold to hope, find camaraderie, talk to people who share your opinions, and when you vote, vote intelligently. Research your candidates. Don't go in that booth thinking, oh, I'm just going to vote all straight Republican or all straight Democratic. You need to be wise when you're picking your choices. But
Right.
remember what we've been living with in last 10 years and how disruptive the Republican Party has been to our nation, so much that at our 150th anniversary year, we should be celebrating our anniversary, but nobody feels like doing that because
Hmm.
look what's happened to us. We're all going through a period of mourning because we've lost what we had or we're on the verge of it. So I would say, keep the hope because it should rebalance itself, but it's going to take time and effort. And there's going to be a lot of investigations when the Democrats go into power, but they're supposed to do that. That's their job. And
Right.
we need to be patient and let them do what they're supposed to do. And, for people who have such an affinity for Donald Trump, they need to realize and go back and listen to what psychiatrists were saying about him 10 years ago and what a danger he is to our society. Everything they said
Right.
about him came true. Everything Miss Harris said about him came true. You
Right.
know, people, it isn't just about, his mental illness. It's about the future of our country and preserving it. That's way more important right now than appeasing this dictator that we have.
Right. Right.
So you need to do some self-examination, people out there who support Trump. That's my
Right.
other bit of advice.
Right. Zachary, how about you? What's a bit of advice, or maybe a word of encouragement that you would leave with someone watching this episode that's looking for hope?
Um, um, we can get through anything together, and just know it might be difficult right now, but this guy is not gonna be president forever. Just stay close with the people you love. Stay close with people um that, that you look up to. If if politics is too much, take a break for a
Yes,
while. It's very important to keep up with today's world, but at
exactly.
the same time, we need to take breaks.
Yes, very
Right.
good point, Zachary. I met a girl and I had to get my annual mammogram yesterday. And I don't even know how we got on the topic of politics, but her opinion was, oh, I don't like thinking about all that. That just makes me upset. And she goes, both sides are as bad as the other. I said, no, honey, that's just not true. And I said, you really got to stay involved. You have to stay on top of everything in the country because it does affect you personally at some point in time. So you're right, Zachary. People they have to stay engaged and knowledgeable and but take breaks when you need to if it's too much to bear. And there have been many times I've had to take breaks in the last few years.
Right.
And
Good advice.
sometimes I get so angry what happened with um, the murders that keep going on with Alex Buddy, Renee Good, like
Mhm.
how are these murders okay with ICE? It's still very
because they
upsetting.
believe the narrative that's being spewed to them that, she caused it or he caused his, and that just isn't true.
Right.
They're being fed lies and they're falling for them.
But he doesn't realize the the murders that he's causing. He's full responsibility because he is currently the the leader in office. So everybody that
Yes.
passes away is under his head.
Right.
And there are things going on in those detention centers that are crimes against humanity. I read a few weeks ago about a box they were putting people in Florida out in the heat. It's like a 2 foot by 2 foot square box, which isn't big enough for even a little toddler to squeeze into, but they would pile them in there in this box and keep them out in the sun all day with no water, no food, no escape. I mean, that's a crime against humanity. And that's just what we know we're hearing about. I mean, there's so many things we don't know goes on. So,
Right.
yeah, it's
Right.
unbelievable how the world has just, not stepped in like we would hope they would because nothing's happening here. I had hoped that, the United Nations would take a greater role in doing something about Trump, but nothing's happening. So we have to make sure
Yeah.
we get
Sorry,
rid of
Anthony, but I'm
any
going to
possibility.
use you as an example. For for people like Anthony skin color, they're more likely to attack Anthony just by the way he looks. Just by his
Hmm.
skin color, they will kill Anthony before they come for you or me.
Hmm. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, man, sometimes I'm worried. My wife is she's Grenadian. She's from the Caribbean. So she's darker complexion. So sometimes uh it's a little scary for me sometimes because I see what's going on and see people just getting stopped for no reason and then just with brute
Hmm.
force and everything like that. And I'm like, man,
Yes.
I hope and pray that's not my wife one day, or nothing
I
ever
know.
happens, because
It's
today's
scary.
day, you just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. You can't tell.
Afraid to leave the house. I have a sister-in-law from Puerto Rico. I have a son-in-law whose father's from Puerto Rico. I worry about them every single day. I have two little grandsons, that he had. What kind of life are they going to have in the future around here now? And then another personal story from about me is I married a Nigerian 2 years ago.
Well,
We were in the process of applying for him to come here under spousal visa when all these ICE detentions started, and we paused it because I was worried for his safety. And now Trump has banned all Nigerians. He can't even come here to visit me. So, I mean, it's just totally personally affected my life.
right,
And I don't know what we're going to do.
right,
So,
right,
but,
right. I
his
mean,
safety was the most important thing for me is I want him safe.
right,
And he wasn't safe here.
right, right. That's
Yeah,
terrible. It's
I
terrible.
understand, Anthony. Yeah, it's awful.
Um,
But thank you
yeah,
for coordinating this, and I've enjoyed it. I appreciate being involved, Zachary.
No
absolutely.
problem. Eh,
Thank you for joining and taking the time out, to have this conversation. These conversations, I don't take lightly, and I know Zachary doesn't take lightly. I think these are much needed conversations, and I love the fact that we're all using our own platforms to a degree to shed light on the issues that need to be shed that need to be brought out to the public and everything like that. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for being able to jump on and
You're very
everything.
welcome. Very welcome. I don't have the answers, but I'll tell you what, I come from a long line of people who formed this country, and I intend to fight for it to the
Right.
end of my life.